Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Language Lab podcast. My name is Siad, and this is my podcast video log thing where I talk about experiments that I am running in my language learning life. And today I wanted to share with you what I'm calling my biggest experiment yet, which is an experiment in consistency, we'll say the least. So, not to keep you on the edge of your seat, but this experiment is going to be an experiment where for 15 minutes each day, I do dedicated focused study in each of my target languages. So I am at any time working on between 3 and 4 languages. So I'm just going to say for most days, I'm looking to do 15 minutes of dedicated study for each of the 3 languages that I'll be focusing on for that day. Now, why is this an experiment? Why does this matter? How long are you going to be doing it? Well, this is an experiment because consistency is something in a way that we'll say I struggle with. I'm not a person who is like a streak person. I am in some aspects of my life, but not with language learning. I often will study things for many, many days in a row and then kind of forget about it. And I think it's because I just get interested in other things or am busy doing, whatever. So this is really an experiment in focused, consistent study. A lot of days I will listen to things in my target language, I'll watch things, but I really want to focus on getting my knowledge to a place where I can pass a language test in those target languages, and in general where I just feel good and feel like I'm having fun and like what I'm doing and I'm learning. And in the week or so that I've been running this experiment so far, I've felt that way with books, with study books, with types of learning materials. I get that we don't want them to be a crutch and we don't want to rely on them for forever, but they can be a really big part of how we learn and acquire and grow in our languages. And so I want to do dedicated, focused study every day, probably big asterisk. So, of course, there are some days, like 2 days ago, it just didn't happen. And I had worked all day, and then I came home, and then I went to work again. And so it just didn't happen. But during the day, I believe I did spend an hour or so listening to a Spanish podcast. So it wasn't that I didn't do any language related things at all. It was just that I didn't do my 15 minutes of a dedicated focused study across each of those languages. So that is going to be my next experiment. And the goal is for me to run this experiment till the end of the year. So it is March 2025, and in late December of the same year, I plan to do a sort of long lab report about how this experiment went. Now, yes, I do want to spend 1,000 hours language learning this year. Am I close to that? Absolutely not. Is that okay? Yes. Because what I'm really focusing on, of course, is being able to do and complete the tasks in those languages that are meaningful to me. So I want to read books, I want to watch TV, I want to watch movies, and I want to pass language tests, and I want to speak. I want to do all those things. I think having the hours goal is important, but also the consistency is important too. And the 15 minutes per language is a bare minimum goal. It is a scratch the surface. There are many days, like today, for instance, where I have had a little bit more time. I spent a ton of time walking today. So I was able to spend time listening to things in my target languages, and I'm still going to do some study. So on a lot of days, I do get more than the 15 minutes anyway. The 15 minutes is just really to try to build that consistency, that habit, and to make it feel like I'm doing something, like I'm progressing towards the goals that I set for myself. So some days I'll have way more. Some days the 15 minutes per language is going to be the maximum that I'll be able to do, and I am happy with that. So again, this is sort of a streak goal, but it is really a consistency goal so that I can feel like I'm making progress in the ways that are meaningful to me. And when I'm doing my dedicated focus study, which is usually through a textbook of some kind or a graded reader or reading in general, it feels good. It feels focused. It feels like I'm challenging myself, that my brain is eventually turning into a puddle of mud, and because I've learned and I've grown and I've challenged, and that's what's really important to me about what I'm doing here with language learning and knowledge acquisition. So that's it. That's my experimenting with learning languages for 15 minutes a day, in a focused way. Because I think there sometimes we do a lot of, and maybe I'll speak in I statements. I do a lot of unfocused language learning study. And that's fine. There's a time and a place for that. Like I said, I was walking for over an hour today, and I would say that it's mostly focused when I'm doing that. But when I'm doing my 15 minutes or more sometimes of really dedicated study, it feels focused. And that is what is really important to me, and that's what I know, in addition to all of the other kinds of input, that the focused input with studying some sort of material is really going to help me progress in the way that I want to right now. So do you have this kind of goal? Do you do consistency? Do you care? I think there's a time and a place to care and not care. At this moment, I really, really care. So I'm going to capitalize on how much I care and go for it. So again, I'll thank you for watching this, listening to this. I really appreciate it. Let me know how you're feeling. We're humming along through this year, and I'm sure that people are probably feeling like I do, and that maybe they haven't been able to do as much language learning as they wanted to, but they're still committed to it. Understand that this is a thing that you'll do for a really long time, and are just figuring out ways to make it work in kind of our lives. So thanks again, and I will be back with another one of these videos, podcast log things soon. Bye-bye.